battle the grunts and Tabitha before my first battle with Maxie. Macho beat Mighty Anna in 2 hits due to Intimidate. Kadabra OHKO'd Zubat, and surprisingly Marshtomp needed 2 hits to KO Camerupt. I head down to Lawbridge straight for the gym. After fighting my way through, it was time for the Flannery battle. Marshtomp OHKO'd Numel. Slugma survived the first water gun and annoyingly set up Sunlight, forcing me to switch to Mud Slap instead to KO. She then brings in Camerupt, which I wear down with Mud Slap, waiting for the sun to go away. The sun is still up, but another water gun that I tried ended up being enough to KO it with about a third of its health left. Finally, she brings in Torkoal, which unfortunately set the sun back up immediately. I'm spamming Mud Slap to lower its accuracy, but it didn't miss a single move. I finally try a water gun to see if it does more, but thanks to the sun, it does not. Torkoal then goes for Overheat boosted by the sun, which I foolishly thought Marshtomp might survive. It did not. I bring in Kadabra, who thankfully outspeeds and is able to KO Torkoal from that range. The battle didn't end up being too hard, but I was starting to see how Water Gun and Mud Slap really just aren't going to be cutting it as well anymore. I head back to Petalburg for the gym I'm confident Machoke will destroy. The gym trainers turned out to actually be kind of a pain and required several trips to the Pokemon Center and back, but I wasn't worried about Norman. Yeah, I should have been. Norman leads with Spinda, who doesn't go down as easy as I'd hoped. I switch out Machoke to keep it healthy, and then KO Spinda with Kadabra. Then comes Vigoroth. Machoke beat it, but took some hits in the process. He next brings in Linoone while I switch to Kadabra because I'm worried about Linoone outspeeding and KOing Machoke. I go for Psybeam and do about half as Linoone goes for Belly Drum, leaving with what looks like to just be 1 or 2 HP. I think I'll be okay though, as Psybeam does about half, so it should be a 2-hit KO. I Psybeam in on the turn it heals up, then do the same again, and it lives with 1 HP! Look at that! Look at that! You almost can't even see the red! Linoone then sweeps through my entire team, and I lose. I decide that it was just bad luck, so I can just try again. I use Kadabra to take out Spinda so I don't take any damage on Machoke. Then I bring in Machoke to defeat Vigoroth, and do so, but again, take too much damage in the process. Norman then brings in the Demon Linoone. I'm terrified of Belly Drum, so I don't want to heal and risk it getting a free attack max on its first turn. I go for Low Kick, hoping to either live a hit or have it go for Belly Drum, then faint from my attack, but neither happens. Linoone's Facade KOs Machoke, and it's a crit. Did the crit matter? I admittedly don't know. Was it an unnecessary slap in the face after my first loss? Yes it was. I bring in Breloom, and Linoone immediately goes for Belly Drum while my Leech Seed misses, because of course it does. Linoone then obliterates Breloom, but Effect Spore poisons it in the process. It's actually a godsend, because Kadabra can now outspeed and finish it with Psybeam, because it'll have below half health.
Oh
Kadabra
my
comes
god,
in and
Cindy.
does just that. But now there's slacking, and I don't have Machoke. Kadabra just did a little bit of damage and then fainted. Marshtomp comes in, and I growl on the Truant turn to hope I survive. Then it yawns me as I growl again. I growl a third time, hoping that -3 attack will be enough to let me survive some hits. I heal the sleep as Slacking uses Facade, and it crits me, ignoring the -3 attack and OHKOing Marshtomp. I was so epic mad. Like, I was nuts. I didn't play for, like, a couple days, because I didn't want to play. This game was rude to me. I needed to grind. I didn't want to grind, so I just didn't play. Literally 2 days later, I was like, okay, I can't just not play this again. I gotta finish this playthrough challenge. So I went back in, but decided not to grind, because I thought, hey, maybe if I go in with the strategy of, dear God, keep Machoke healthy so it can KO Linoone and Slacking, otherwise you will lose, then I might win. I lead with Marshtomp to, as I said, protect Machoke. After 3 Mud Slaps getting Spinda to a bit over a third health and lowering its accuracy to -3, I brought in Machoke, hoping that whatever Spinda uses will miss. Switch in Teeter Dance missed, but the next one did not. Thankfully, Machoke did not hurt itself, and Spinda goes down. I switch back into Marshtomp to get rid of Machoke's confusion and begin my Mud Slapping once more. Once again, after getting it to -3 accuracy, I switched Machoke in. The switch in slash hit, but the next one missed, so Machoke took a bit of damage before KOing Vigoroth. In comes Linoone, and I bring in Breloom. I knew belly drums, but I paralyzed it with stun spore. Well, this paralysis will power on its facade. That doesn't really matter because it's got max attack. It's gonna OHKO anything anyways. But with the paralysis, now I can outspeed it. I have Breloom use Absorb to get it below half health, then allow it to faint to facade. I bring in Kadabra to KO with a Psybeam that I know will KO at this time because it's under half. Finally, slacking. Since Machop isn't at full health, I'm super nervous it'll get KO'd by the first hit. So I leave in Kadabra and get some Psybeam damage off before sacking it. A Truant turn, Machop low kicks, and it does a lot thanks to Slacking's weight. Slacking's berry heals it enough for Norman to not use a potion, so on the next turn Machop outspeeds, finishes it off. The cursed daddy battle is over. I soon get Surf, which opens up a lot of the Hoenn region for me. The first place I want to go is New Mauville because I want a Magneton. It knows Thunder Wave and Sonic Boom, both helpful for catching Pokemon, along with Supersonic and Spark. Strong electric types are great for the rest of this playthrough because they're super helpful with Winona, Archie, Ron, and Wallace. And Magneton Spark is my best option. I went to New Mauville, progressed all the way through, and found the 1% Magneton on my way out. I caught it first try and named it Powerline. Side note, while doing this, I thought that it had to be a Magneton for it to know Spark. Turns out if I had just found a level 26 Magnemite, it would have known Spark and I would have been fine, but whatever, I got what I wanted. I then went up to the northern part of Route 115 and caught a Swellow because it came with Wing Attack, and I thought that might be helpful. I did some more training on the water routes between Dewford and Slateport before finally moving along on Route 118. Once I reached Route 119, I decided it was time to swap out my grass type. While Breloom's Stun Spore and Leaf Seed were nice, Absorb is basically useless, and I need something that can hit with decent grass-type damage. Tropius with Razor Leaf is my best option. It's not a great option, but all of my other ones either only know like one really weak grass-type move, like Absorb, or just don't learn any grass moves at all. I found a Tropius and named it Brontosaur, a name that would have worked well as its species name in my opinion. I traversed to the Weather Institute, defeated Team Aqua inside, and received the Castform, which I named Castforce, as a reference to an old Pokemon Go video of mine. Next was the rival battle with May, in which I attempted to utilize Castforce. It almost beat Grovyle, but fell to a Leaf Blade. I then tried to grind Castform up a bit due to its Powder Snow seeming helpful, but it was super tedious since it struggled to KO anything other than the annoying status-causing Odditions. I lost patience pretty quickly. I love Castform, but God, it's just so weak. I decided to attempt the gym battle against Winona. Magneton made quick work of Swablu, which, considering it was 8 levels higher, was unsurprising. She then brings in Altaria, and I think Castform might have a chance with 4 times super effective Powder Snow. I use Hail on the first turn, and Altaria Dragon Dances. Forgot it knew that. Castform survives a +1 Earthquake, but Powder Snow doesn't even do half. Castform goes down the next turn, and then Altaria sweeps through the rest of my team. I have now failed my first attempt at a gym battle twice in a row. Anyone who says this challenge was too easy is wrong, because an easy challenge would not irritate me this much. I decide to immediately try again. Magneton easily beats Swablu, and again she sends in Altaria. This time, I know I need to paralyze it before it can outspeed, even with Dragon Dance, so I click Thunder Wave with Magneton, risking an Earthquake KO. Magneton thankfully survives, and I get the paralysis off. I switch into Castform to preserve Magneton and let it take a hit. I get off a Powder Snow, which actually crits, and Altaria gets fully paralyzed. I Powder Snow again, but then Aerial Ace ends Castform's run. I bring in Kadabra to finish Altaria off, but then this stupid, dumb bird that should not be a dragon freaking survives! Winona heals back up, and I furiously spam Psybeam, hoping for the confusion, but don't get it. I wear it down a bit before it KOs Kadabra. I then bring in Magneton because it's the only one left standing who can actually do decent damage to this thing, and click Spark. Again, the stupid fluffy chicken lives, and Magneton goes down. I bring in Tropius and finish off the Altaria because thankfully she didn't heal. But now I'm left with only a grass type, a fighting type, and a ground type to defeat 3 flying types. I'm in a bad spot, and I realize the only way for me to win this battle is to revive Magneton. So I did. actions necessary so that I can frickin' move on. Also, I ran a Twitter poll immediately after completing this battle, and 79% of you said you wouldn't judge me, so,
At Bayer, we're more than a healthcare. We help farmers like Jim by developing digital tools so they can use less water to grow crops. At Bayer, this is why we science.
thanks to the 79% of you. With Magneton healthy again, I was able to defeat Pelipper after hurting myself in confusion twice, Skarmory in just one hit, and Tropius in a few hits. Prior to moving on to the story, I decided to do a bit more research to figure out my exact final team for the Pokemon League, because I was getting into the later parts of the game. During that research, I realized something that I had missed before. I can get a Raichu with Thunderbolt. If I find a Pikachu in the Safari Zone that's at least level 26, it will know Thunderbolt, a base 95 power stab move. Considering there are 2 big water-type bosses left in the game, I had to get one. And also wished I would have known about it prior to battling Winona, because that really would have helped. It took a while, but finally a Pikachu of adequate level showed up. Thankfully, I caught it before it fled, and I named it Storm Surge, intending to reference surge protectors, and totally forgetting that Storm Surge is a term for a big wave caused by a storm. So, I guess it still tangentially works, because surfing Pikachu is the thing. Mount Pyre was uneventful, as was the Magma Hideout. The battle with Maxie was a bit interesting at times, though. By interesting, it's super aggravating, because at one point, Magneton didn't get to attack for 5 turns in a row due to confusion and flinching. So, yeah, that was fun. Also, Marshtomp lost to Camerupt, which was pretty embarrassing. I did win the battle, but a water type losing to a fire ground type, it's not great. I head back to Lilycove for the final rival battle of the game, which wasn't very difficult. Magneton beat Tropius and Pelipper, Marshtomp beat Slugma, and Machoke beat Grovyle. At this point, I decided my team needed to be more fully evolved, so I evolved Marshtomp, Kadabra, and Machoke in rapid succession. Next was the Aqua Hideout, which I rushed through pretty quickly. Now that the blockade was gone, I could finally get 2 members I desperately wanted. The first required me to get into Shoal Cave and all the way to the bottom. Once in the icy bottom floor, I found myself a Snorunt. I needed one that was 28 or above because it learns Crunch at that level. A move I wanted to help with Tate and Liza, plus Stevie in the lead. Its other moves are Headbutt, Protect, and Icy Wind. Icy Wind isn't the best Ice-type move in the game, but it's the best Ice-type move in this game on an Ice-type, so I really wanted it because I'm expecting it to be instrumental against Drake. I named it Permafrost, then headed straight back out to Mossdeep City to get the Super Rod. I then began fishing on the shoreline because with the Super Rod, I can find Wild Wailmer up to level 45. If I catch a Wailmer that's at least level 41, it will know Water Spout, the most powerful move available to me in this rule set, other than self-KOing ones like Self-Destruct and Explosion. If Wailord is at full health when it uses Water Spout, the move has 150 base power. After a little while, I found the high enough level Wailmer that I needed. I named it Geyser and used my 1 rare candy to evolve it into Wailord pretty much immediately. And yes, getting this Wailord means that I am boxing my starter Swampert. I feel kinda bad, but while my options are Water Spout or Water Gun, I'm gonna pick the move that is almost 4 times as strong when Wailord is healthy. I then spent the next chunk of time battling most of the various water route trainers in an effort to level up Snorunt. Once it evolved into Glalie, I felt I was ready for the Mossdeep Gym. I led with Glalie and Wailord using Icy Wind and Water Spout first. Xatu got off a Calm Mind, annoyingly making it buffer to my special hits. Icy Wind didn't do much, but slowed them down for future turns. Claydol's Earthquake wasn't too bad, but unfortunately it did weaken Water Spout, which still did a large chunk to Claydol, but just a bit to Xatu. The next turn I went for Icy Wind again because I wasn't sure Crunch would do more to Xatu. I used Water Pulse with Wailord this time because I was worried Claydol would make Water Spout weaker again with another Earthquake, but Wailord outsped now thanks to Icy Wind from the previous turn. Water Pulse KO'd Claydol before he could move as Solrock was brought in. Xatu's Psychic really hurt Glalie, but he held on. The next turn I used Crunch on Xatu, which barely survived. Solrock absorbed Light, but then Wailord's Water Spout KO'd both opponents. catching Archie. Machamp handled Mightyena, and while Crobat took a while due to annoying confusion, Magneton beat it, then Sharpedo right after. The world starts to end, but before I do that, I decide it's finally time to start grinding up my Pikachu in advance of the battle with Juan. I evolve it into Raichu immediately, because I don't need to worry about it missing moves. Off I go to the Sky Pillar, where I tell Rayquaza to wake his booty up and control his children. It calms Groudon and Kyogre down, and after some grinding, it's time for the battle with Juan. He leads with Luvdisc, who Raichu easily OHKOs. Next is Whiscash, who Tropius OHKOs with a critical hit that ignored its Amnesia special defense boost. Next is Celio, who Machamp OHKOs. Then he sends in Kingdra, this evil creature. Battling this one Pokemon took over 10 minutes. I realize 10 minutes doesn't actually sound like that long of a time, but it felt really long to me. I had no super effective damage for it, so none of my attacks did a whole lot of damage. Additionally, it had frickin' Double Team, one of the most BS moves in the game, and Rest, something that would instantly negate all my hard-earned damage and any status conditions. It's a nightmare. At one point, I had finally gotten it down to low enough health for Spark to finish it off, so I didn't heal Magneton fearing a rest. Not only did Spark miss due to Double Team, but Kingdra wasn't fully paralyzed, so Magneton goes down. I bring in Raichu, but Thunderbolt misses, as Kingdra rests back up to completely healthy. After many turns of missing, at one point I decide to leave in Raichu on a risky turn to try and paralyze it or maybe crit it. The move hits, but doesn't KO or paralyze, and Kingdra KOs Raichu. I bring in Alakazam to outspeed and KO before it can rest, but Juan uses a freaking Hyper Potion. Psybeam does land twice in a row though, and it looks like it's a 3-hit KO. But then the third misses, and Kingdra heals back up to full. I land 2 more while it's sleeping, and it gets me down to red with Ice Beam. I have to go for Psybeam to KO it before it can rest, and it hits. But this piece of garbage, stupid, straw-nosed fish lives with what? I thought the last playthrough of barely surviving hits was bad. This one, oh, so much worse. It was awful for my mental health, and spoiler alert, there are still more to come. Kingdra KOs Alakazam immediately. My only hope is Machamp, since Tropius would instantly fall to an Ice Beam, and my 6th party member is the Surf user that I had to have to reach the gym. I try a low kick, but Kingdra outspeeds and rests. After another miss due to it being at about +4 evasion by now, I realize my only hope is to land crits for big damage, so I use Focus Energy. I land one, and it does a good chunk. I miss one, then have to heal. I land another, but don't get the crit I need, and Kingdra survives. I try a Karate Chop in case it's stronger, but it's not. I heal out of necessity again. Then the stupid thing double teams 2 more times, most definitely now at max evasion. Machamp lands a hit though, but then it rests again. I land another low kick, then another, and the second one was the crit I needed. Kingdra finally goes down. Machamp easily OHKOs the Dark-type Crawdaunt with the low kick, and this wet hell of a battle is finally over. Now that I can use Waterfall, I can get my final intended team member for the league, Bagon. I had to Meteor Falls to search for one that's at least level 33, otherwise it won't have Dragon Breath, with its other moves being Ember, Headbutt, and Focus Energy. I wanted Salamence not only to help with the battle against Drake, but also because I wanted a really strong Pokemon with neutral damage capabilities, because I anticipated having to use that a lot in the battles against Phoebe and Wallace. After a short while, I find one that's high enough level and named it Fafnir, the name of a dragon from Norse mythology. I give it the experience share and head for the Victory Road. Suddenly, Wally arrives at the beginning, which surprised me, as I did not remember that his battle is at the start of the Victory Road in Emerald. Glalie handled Altaria, and Machamp handled Delcatty. Glalie fell to Gardevoir, but Magneton finished it off. Alakazam barely didn't OHKO Roselia twice, but did eventually beat it. Magneton was a giant pain due to paralysis and confusion, but finally Machamp defeated it. Then Bagon evolved as a result of this battle. The trip through the Victory Road was mostly fine. I dodged most trainers so I could get through as fast as possible. I got through mostly in one piece. And now it's time for the grind. And this, oh god, it took a while. I recorded 70 minutes of grinding footage, all played at 10 times speed. So, like, if this was a regular game, like, Oh my god, that would have been hours and hours and hours. Shogun evolved during the course of the grind, and once it was done, I had my final squad of 6, all at level 52, knowing the moves they knew when I caught them. It was finally time to take on the League. First was Sydney, whose Mightyena intimidated Machamp, lowering its attack and causing low kick not to Oko. After Mightyena sand attacked, I decided to switch to get rid of the attack and accuracy drops. Magneton tanked the incoming hit no problem, and while he healed Mightyena the next turn, Spark was an easy 2-hit KO. Magneton then KO'd Crawdon easily. Shifttree's double teams got a little scary, but Machamp landed the one low kick necessary to KO. Machamp then cleaned up by Okoing both Absol and Cacturn. Sydney was done. Next was Phoebe, who wouldn't be as easy since I didn't have stab super effective moves for any of her team members. Her first Dusclops was a bit annoying due to trying to protect pressure stall out my Crunch PP, which was something that I was a bit worried about. One Crunch did about half and got the special defense drop, but because I was worried about more protects wasting the Crunch PP, I decided to switch to someone whose strongest move had substantially more PP to burn. That someone was Magneton, who did lose some extra Spark PP due to Protect, but finished off the Dusclops. Next was her stronger Dusclops, which doesn't Protect, but does have super effective Rock Slide. My first Crunch didn't do a whole lot, but I got the special defense drop again, and its Rock Slide missed. I thought I was going to have a stretch of really good luck, but nope! The stupid thing lives on 1! I am starting to hate you, Emerald. Thankfully, though, the berry kicked in, healing Dusclops enough for Phoebe not to use a potion. My next Crunch KO'd, but thanks to pressure, I was down to only 5 left. Her first Bandit was an easy 2-hit KO with Crunch, but I couldn't immediately KO it on the second turn because it used Grudge. I used Protect to stall a turn, but then finished it off. Next was Sableye, who isn't weak to anything, so I brought in Salamence for powerful neutral damage. My first Dragon Breath does about half, then my second one leaves it with 1, because of course it does. She heals, then it takes an Ember and 2 more Dragon Breaths to KO it. Her final Pokemon is her last Banette. Crunch does most of its health, but then she heals, then 2 more Crunches KO it, meaning Glalie finished the battle with literally 0 Crunches left. Glacia's battle was a welcome break from the intensity and was pleasantly easy. Machamp's low kick Oko'd every single one of her heavy ice types. Then it was time for Drake. Salamence's Dragon Breath was barely not enough to KO Shelgon, so we took a Rock Tomb hit. As he healed, I used Focus Energy, thinking the upped critical hit ratio would help with later Pokemon. It ended up not being needed, though, as my next Dragon Breath was enough to KO. He brings in Altaria, and I bring in Glalie. Icy Wind does most, but not all of its health, but thankfully it did lower its speed to cancel out the speed boost from its Dragon Dance. I expect him to heal the next turn and click Icy Wind again, but he doesn't heal. Icy Wind misses, though, as Altaria goes for Double Edge. It does a good chunk to Glalie, but the recoil knocks out Altaria in the process. Next is Flygon, whose Flamethrower almost KO'd Glalie, but he held on and Oko'd Flygon with Icy Wind. Next was his Salamence, who I brought in Magneton for in an attempt to paralyze it, preventing it from outspeeding other members of my team. Unfortunately, Flamethrower crit, and Magneton went down before it could paralyze it. I brought in Raichu to sack off while I healed up Glalie, hoping Static would activate on the Dragon Claw hit. It did not, but Raichu survived. I Thunderbolted the next turn, and not only got damage, but also got the paralysis that I wanted. Raichu then lives another Dragon Claw, allowing me to get even more damage off before fainting. Salamence's Citrus Berry healed it a bit, but I knew we were in the clear because it was most certainly in Icy Wind KO range. Unfortunately, Icy Wind missed again, and Glalie got a Flamethrower to the face, something I'd been trying to avoid this whole time with the paralysis and damage from Raichu. Glalie survived, though, and the next Icy Wind connected and KO'd. Finally was his Kingdra, a Kingdra much easier to handle than Wands, both because it doesn't have Double Team and Rest, and because I have super effective damage. 2 Dragon Breaths from Salamence were enough to KO it. Drake was done. Finally, it was time for Wallace, the last battle of the playthrough. Magneton was doing well against Wailord until he did a strategic switch into Whiscash, who absorbed the Spark that would have KO'd. I brought in Salamence against it, since the only moves Whiscash can hurt Salamence with are Resisted Surfs and Intimidated Hyper Beams. After it used Amnesia, I switched to using Headbutts instead of Dragon Breath. I wore it down over time, but surprisingly he didn't heal when it got to red health, so Salamence beat it. Wallace brings Wailord back in, and Magneton gets to finish the job. Next is Gyarados, a Pokemon I'm scared of due to previous experiences, mainly in Platinum. Instead of one of my electric types, I bring in Glalie to try and slow it down with Icy Wind a bit before something else comes in. I lower its speed, it Dragon Dances. I lower it again, it Earthquakes. I lower it again, and Gyarados KOs Glalie. I bring in Raichu, who finishes it off with a Thunderbolt. Next was Tentacruel, who proved to be tougher than I thought it would be. Psybeam did about half, then it poisoned Alakazam. I Psybeamed again, and oh, would you look at that? It lives with 1 or 2 or 3 HP. Big surprise. Can't believe it. It's ridiculous. I take a Hydro Pump, then he heals. My next Psybeam confuses, I think maybe for the first time all playthrough. Tentacruel doesn't hurt itself, but that's fine. I'm confident my next Psybeam will KO, and even if it doesn't, it'll hurt itself and fall. Neither occurred, and Tentacruel beat Alakazam. I bring in Raichu, and he heals back to full. Thunderbolt does less than Psybeam, and Raichu has to take some Sludge Bomb damage and get poisoned by it before I can finally KO it. Then comes Ludicolo, and things got sticky. I brought in Salamence because Ludicolo can do almost no damage to it since it resists Surf and Giga Drain. Unfortunately, Dragon Breath doesn't do much, so I'm stuck whittling it down. After a little while, it Leech Seeds, making things tougher. I got it down to red HP and thought I was in the clear, but apparently Wallace had another full restore despite already using several. Now that it's at full, Ludicolo starts spamming Double Team like crazy, and we know how I feel about Double Team. The combination of missing most of my moves and the fact that they didn't do much damage caused me to actually run out of Dragon Breath PP. Headbutt did even less than Dragon Breath, so after several minutes I let Salamence fall to Leech Seed damage. I bring in Machamp, who is immediately Leech Seeded. I used Focus Energy to boost my crit rate, then tried a Leer before realizing that could miss too, and it did. Surf also did more damage to Machamp than it did to Salamence, so after not landing a single low kick, Machamp fell. I brought in an only partially healthy Magneton, which I thought would tank Surf hits just fine. It didn't land a single Spark, and then Surf crit O-code Magneton. My last Pokemon is Raichu, and I Thunderbolt because I've given up hope. It actually lands. The first hit I landed in a while, so I heal the next turn because I might still have a chance. I land another Thunderbolt, but then Ludicolo Leech Seeds me. I land a third Thunderbolt, which Ludicolo survives. I have to attack the next turn, because if I don't KO here, Leech Seed heals it out of Thunderbolt's range. I click Thunderbolt, and it misses. Giga Drain KOs, and I lose the battle. So, yeah, I got through the entire Pokemon League until Wallace's second-to-last Pokemon, which proceeded to use a BS Double Team strategy that KO'd 4 of my Pokemon over the course of 10 minutes. I was fuming mad. I didn't break anything, do anything crazy, I might have yelled a little bit, but I was furious. I got that far, and then lost to Wallace's second-to-last Pokemon using the BS Double Team method. It's not even worth it to call it a strategy. It's not a strategy. It's making the battle turn from a strategy into just RNG, just luck. That's it. I lost because I wasn't lucky enough. Double Team and other evasiveness raising moves never should have been in the game. So now I'm just stuck. I'm mad as hell and don't want to play, but feel like I have to play because I have to get the playthrough done so I can get this video done. I could grind my team up, but really didn't want to do that because I already spent eons doing that and hated the entire process, and also I didn't even know if that would work. I considered grinding up that Swellow that I caught a while ago because it knows Wing Attack and I would have super effective stab damage against the Ludicolo, but that'd be grinding up a Pokemon from level 25 to 50. Like, oh god, I really didn't want to do that. After a dinner break and venting to my fiancée Jubilee, she suggested just grinding up the Pokemon best suited to fighting Ludicolo, which I thought was a pretty good idea, so I did it. I trained Salamence up to 58, then gave it 2 rare candies to get it to 60. I also got Alakazam up a level to ensure that Psybeam could 2-hit KO Tentacruel. I blazed through the first 4 members of the league. I don't need to explain these battles since I've already beat them once and did so more easily the second time. My second attempt at fighting Wallace started well since Magneton crit O-Code Wailord. I knew Raichu would outspeed Gyarados since Glalie did in the first battle, so I immediately brought it in and Thunderbolt O-Code Gyarados. Whiscash took 3 hits from Salamence to get down to red, but then it made the mistake of Hyper Beaming. That prevented it from healing on the following turn, so Salamence beat it. In comes Tentacool, who Alakazam can now guarantee 2-hit KO this time due to the extra level, so I beat it no problem. Finally, I am once again face to face with the evil Ludicolo. I Dragon Breath and then it double teams immediately. Thankfully, the second one hit and paralyzed it, and no Leech Seed yet. I now realize it's not in KO range for Dragon Breath, so I need to do a bit of damage first as to not get it into full restore range. I Ember, but it misses. I Ember a second time and it hits, and thank God, Wallace doesn't heal. It takes a few more turns because of Dragon Breath missing and needing to heal Salamence, but he never Leech Seeds or full restores. So when I land a Dragon Breath, Ludicolo finally goes down. Finally, he sends in Milotic. Raichu's Thunderbolt only does about a third, and Surf does a lot. So I use Slam to get it into the range of another attack before Raichu goes down. I forgot about the berry though, so Milotic then heals to over half. I click Sonic Boom to get it back below half because I didn't think Spark would KO and I didn't want it to go into red HP, but Surf does a lot and outspeeds, so I'm forced to switch. I switch to Glalie to sack it off while I get Magneton back to full health so it can live a Surf, but then Milotic uses Recover. I decide to spam Crunch in an attempt to get a special defense drop because I need to be able to get big damage. I don't get it after a few turns though, and Glalie goes down. I bring in Machamp hoping Low Kick will be good enough damage, and oh my god, I should have done this sooner. It does well over half, so while he full restores, a Low Kick, surviving a Surf, and a Low Kick later, it's over. I have finally won. This was my final squad that I used to beat the league, but these Pokemon also helped a good amount at one point or another during the playthrough. I consider all of them part of the team. As for my final thoughts on this playthrough, as you can probably tell, I didn't enjoy it very much. There was a lot of grinding necessary, and as you know, there were a lot of battles that were very frustrating for me. Plus, an annoying aspect of this that I didn't really realize until I started playing is that if I need any HM moves, any at all, I can't have my full team of 6. Like, if I just need Surf or Fly, like, I can't have the full squad because my full squad can't know any HMs. I'm proud to have completed it though, so if you have any suggestions for other playthrough challenges you want to see me do that hopefully are not as hard as this one because I value my mental health, let me know down in the comments below. Also, shout out to Machamp, definitely gets the MVP crown for this playthrough. But anyways, before I wrap things up, I want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsor for this video, Audible. I'm actually really excited that I got them as a sponsor because I have been using their excellent audiobook service for over a year now. Start your free trial today by heading to audible.com/MNJTV or by texting MNJTV to 500-500. Audible has the world's largest selection of audiobooks and audio entertainment, which I love listening to while driving or working out or just relaxing. Their system is super convenient too because if you start listening on your computer, then switch to the Audible app on your phone, it'll save your progress exactly. Members get tons of free benefits like picking one free audiobook per month, keeping their library of audiobooks forever even if they cancel their service, and getting free updates from reputable news sources like the New York Times. Like I said, I've been an Audible member for a year already, so I promise you it's worth it. I personally recommend the Superpowered series by Drew Hayes. It's about college for superheroes, including focusing on a group of students that used to be powereds, where they can't control their powers, but now can, but have to keep it a secret. It's funny and intense and fascinating, has just such cool fight scenes. I loved all 4. So start listening yourself with a 30-day free trial where you can pick 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals totally for free. Head to audible.com/MNJTV or text MNJTV to 500-500. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see some more of my fun Pokemon content, I recommend this video over here. Also, if you want to watch some more playthrough challenges to tide you over until my next one, I made a playlist of playthrough challenges that I like, not just my own, all sorts of them. Alright, that's all I have for now, so till next time, big fans. Got a cat?
Hey, check out this new guy. He seems pretty legit. Let's make an alliance and start trading right away. Alright, dude, I'm gonna send you a lot of resources. This should help you. Check it out. Check out all those resources. Holy crap, barbarian! Come on, man, you gotta help me out. I just sent you everything I got. So you gotta send all your troops over. We're gonna take them out. Damn, look at all those T3s. Best alliance ever.
Artillery platforms built into the walls of ancient castles served as perches from which Golurk could fire energy beams. Greetings, Spooky fans! Michael here, and today I will be talking about my favorite Pokemon of every single one of the 18 Pokemon types. Now, if this sounds familiar, that's because I have made a video on this exact same topic before that many of you have probably seen. However, that video was posted over 3 years ago, before even Sun and Moon had come out, so I figured it was high time for an update. And my goodness, is it quite the update? Less than half of the Pokemon featured in the original video still have a slot in this one. The only real disclaimer I have is that if a Pokemon is dual-typed, it can only count for one type's entry. But I think that covers all the intro stuff, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and let's dive in. I'll start with a quick one. My favorite grass type and favorite Pokemon of all time is Sceptile. I won't spend much time talking about this one because I've talked about it in so many other videos over the years, but Sceptile was the first starter Pokemon I ever had in any Pokemon game. I thought it was cool right from the get-go since lizards are some of my favorite animals, and the incredibly powerful nostalgia I have with it has cemented its spot as my all-time favorite. My favorite Dark-type Pokemon is Umbreon. This is unchanged from the previous video, as is my opinion that it is the best evolution. It looks like a simply well-designed Pokemon that has an extra coolness factor added to it because of the bright red and yellow coloring contrasting with its primarily black color scheme. The fact that the rings glow and they turn an electric blue in its shiny form really enhances the awesomeness factor of this Pokemon. Plus, the Pokemon Talk Umbreon is just such a fun character. My favorite flying type is Talonflame, another one that is the same as my previous video. First off, Talonflame just looks excellent. It's not a complicated design, but it's a really nice looking bird. But the reason I love it so much is fond memories of using it back in Gen 6. Before Gale Wings was nerfed, I used a Talonflame with Priority Brave Bird to get a 50 streak in the Battle Mason doubles and do pretty well in a regional VGC tournament. It was just plain fun to use, and I'll never forget that fun experience. My favorite fire type is Blaziken. This is actually a change from the previous video in which it was Charizard. However, over the years, my love of Mega Charizard X has waned, while my annoyance with all of the special treatment that Charizard gets has increased. Gigantamax Charizard may look cool, but I still don't think it should exist. I love Blaziken because it just exudes ferocity. The intense facial expression it has, the gnarly looking claws that can be lit ablaze, and the long powerful legs are a fantastic combination that creates a Pokemon clearly built for kicking ass. Clearly, I think Gen 3 is an extremely solid generation of starter Pokemon, and it's actually my favorite generation of starter Pokemon. Sceptile is, of course, my all-time favorite. Blaziken is frickin' fantastic. And while Swampert won't be featured on this list for the water or ground type entries, I still think it's a really, really good Pokemon. If I had started with Torchic or Mudkip instead of Trico, I am very confident that Blaziken or Swampert would have ended up as my favorite all-time Pokemon instead of Sceptile. My favorite fairy type...
The flu sucks everything out of you. The fever, aches, and chills can flatten you fast. Prescription Xofluza can help you feel better in just over 2 days. Over-the-counter medicines just treat symptoms. Xofluza is different. It attacks the flu virus at its source with just 1 dose. But your window for prescription treatment
type is Alolan Ninetales. Originally it was Xerneas, but in that video I actually did say that once Sun and Moon came out, it would switch to being Alolan Ninetales. That did indeed end up being the case. Alolan Ninetales is simply a beautiful Pokemon. It looks far more majestic than original Ninetales, and I love its unique typing. It's my favorite Alola form by a sizable margin, and I really enjoyed using one on my Ultra Sun team. My favorite electric-type Pokemon is Zebstrika. Originally it was Luxray, which is a Pokemon I still really, really like, but Zebstrika's just passed it up in recent years. Zebras have been my favorite animal ever since I can remember. Literally, some of my earliest memories are me playing with my favorite zebra toy. So, of course, a zebra Pokemon is automatically going to be one that I like. But making an electric zebra with lightning bolt stripes is so incredibly cool that it is impossible for me to not like this Pokemon. My favorite poison type is Crobat. This is unchanged from the previous video. I've always thought Crobat just looked really good. I've always thought Zubat and Golbat were kinda ugly, but Crobat takes their pretty cool premise and makes it look actually cool. I love the swapping of the color scheme, and the 4 wings instantly indicate that this thing is a skilled flyer. I've used Crobat many times in my various Pokemon playthroughs because I simply think it's great. My favorite psychic type is Metagross. This is a returning Pokemon from the first video, but in that one it was actually my favorite steel type. My favorite psychic type was Gallade, but I decided to cut Gallade from this video because Metagross takes priority, and there was a steel type Pokemon that I decided I like more than Gallade, so Metagross gets the psychic spot and that other Pokemon gets the steel spot. Metagross has one of the coolest designs in all of Pokemon. It's a terrifying 4-legged robot with a gnarly X on its face. That is objectively cool, and it's made even cooler by having such an awesome shiny form. It's simply a fantastic Pokemon and definitely my favorite pseudo-legendary. My favorite ice type is Zen Mode Galarian Darmanitan. I know, it's kinda weird, but I'll explain. First, I should say that in the original video, my favorite ice type was Lapras, a Pokemon that I, to this day, believe is an excellently designed Pokemon and a classic for a reason. However, when I was making that original video, I kinda picked Lapras because there weren't any other ice types that really stood out to me, other than Alolan Ninetales, but that's the fairy type. So I kinda picked it just because I think it's well designed, but my liking or love for it has never really been super strong. But then, after years of waiting, they introduced an Ice-Fire type Pokemon. A type combination that I've been saying in videos for genuinely years that I most wanted to see, because it's a really awesome concept of combining 2 opposites together into one creature. At first, I wasn't that into Zen Mode Galarian Darmanitan because I thought it would suck, but as it turns out, it's actually really freaking strong, which is awesome. Also, I love the background of its design, where Galarian Darmanitan's flames have become dormant inside its body due to the cold, but when Zen Mode is activated, they come roaring.
Award-winning service for families on the go.
Back to life. That is awesome. My favorite fighting type is Grapploct. This was an instantly liked Pokemon for me as soon as I saw it. Clobbopus is also extremely cute, but Grapploct is it's just so freaking cool. Its fighting stance looks really awesome and imposing, and its color scheme is excellent. I love when bright and vibrant colors are contrasted with darker colors, and giving it a superhero mask is just plain perfect. It also helps that its shiny is one of the best ever created. Seriously, how did they successfully pull off changing it from an already fantastic color scheme to an equally fantastic color scheme? Like, holy crap, Grapploct might be the fastest a Pokemon has ever gotten into my top 10 between it being revealed and it getting into my top 10. Although before I move on to the next type, I want to give a quick shout out to Phalanx and Breloom, because those are 2 really awesome fighting type Pokemon that aren't that far behind Grapploct in my ranking. My favorite normal type Pokemon is Castform. This is unchanged from the previous video because my love for...
What's up, everybody? This is Blackbeard55, and welcome back to more Pokemon Omega Ruby! In the last episode, we got our first official Pokemon Elite Gym Badge. The hell? Sorry about that, I think that this looks up. We got our first official Pokemon Elite Gym Badge by defeating Roxanne. By defeating Roxanne, that whole glitch I just made me glitch out my own. We defeated Roxanne, the Rock-type Gym Master, and we got our first pet claw. That's honestly all that really happened. That's making it the most part. And, just as soon as we apparently is Devin Parts when it comes to this generation, because Guts is too sexual. So yeah, in this episode we're gonna go help that poor little Devin, who's probably gonna get fired after getting screwed up so much. But before we do, quick little party updates. We have Beefquake, our newly evolved Beefquake, now a Marsh Tom. Wow. At level 16 with the use tackle, bro. What a good new one shot. We have Guts Taylor with the moves. Bro.
Booty call, Am I late 3 years later? The reason why you Kata?
Here.
Oh, hi. Hi, the two people on my screen.
seems to hate it too. They gave it terrible stats, no shiny form for its alternate weather forms, no sandstorm form, despite it being introduced at the same time as all of the other weathers. So in short, I've always thought Castform was great, but the fandom and Game Freak's unjust treatment of it has only emboldened me to defend my love of it even more. My favorite ground-type Pokemon is Gliscor. This is another one that's unchanged from the first video. Gliscor just looks I love the dark wings on its back, and its facial expression looks menacing without looking horrifying. It kind of reminds me of a creature of the night type anti-hero, which I think is awesome. It definitely doesn't hurt that for many years it was excellent in the competitive scene, and its shiny is one of my all-time favorite shinies. If I was taking a channel mascot today, there's a decent chance I would take Shiny Gliscor. It fits with my channel skill listing. My favorite bug-type Pokemon is Vikavolt. If you're around for the days of my Generation 7 Let's Plays, you already knew this. Also, I should note that for the last video, my favorite bug-type was Scyther, but in that video I did say that once Gen 7 came out, Vikavolt would take over. And like the situation with the Alolan Ninetales, that ended up being true.
I'm Mariceli, and I am a real protein fan. The taste of Kuma protein is also flavors of my life. With 30 grams of protein, 160 calories, and just 1 gram of sugar. Premier Protein. Too good to be good.
I already thought Vikavolt was really cool because of its design. It's a fearsome bug that doesn't look horrifying, but it's also my favorite type, electric type. The idea of this really cool bug firing off electric blasts from its big pincers is just really cool. But what catapulted Vikavolt into my top 10 favorite Pokemon, actually number 2 as of the last time I made that list, was using it in both my Sun and Ultra Sun playthroughs. Havoc was my Vikavolt in Sun version that kicked a ton of butt and came in incredibly clutch against the Total Tyrannus. And of course, my Total Vikavolt named Ion in Ultra Sun was a part of one of the most famous moments in my channel. My incredibly clutch defeat in Ultra Evolution. There's no way I could have loved this Pokemon after those incredible experiences. My favorite rock type is Gigalith, which is unchanged from the previous video. I just think it looks awesome. I love the body style, which is similar to Metagross, so it's not surprising that I like the boa. And the brightly colored spikes jutting out just look so good when you try to I love Gigalith simply because it looks great. My favorite ghost type is Marshadow. Originally it was Gengar, which is a Pokemon that I still like, but Marshadow's just something special. Marshadow is, of course, extremely evolved. I love how it's this cute little guy with shadowy wisps coming off of it, and it can also get up to some adorable mischief by entering and exiting the shadows. However, it's not just cute. It's extremely freaking strong, which is just really fun. I also love how it lights up when it attacks or gets angry, which is a really cool design aspect. I honestly wish Marshadow wasn't a mythical Pokemon and had more balanced stats, because I think it's just so great, and I really wish I could use it in a playthrough or competitive team at some point, but due to its mythical status, that's unfortunately not that practical. My favorite Dragon-type Pokemon is Rayquaza. Originally, it was Haxorus, which is a Pokemon that I still really like, but what made me love Haxorus was using it in Gen 5, and I haven't really used it since then, and that was a long time ago, so it's just not as fresh. Rayquaza, though, is timeless. If you don't count mythicals as legendaries, then Rayquaza is my favorite legendary Pokemon. And along with Groudon and Kyogre are my favorite group of generational mascot legendaries, because I love the sky, sea, and land theme. And plus, they all look really good. Rayquaza is the best of the 3 because it's a super powerful serpentine sky dragon. That is awesome. Plus, I have great memories of using it extensively in my Ruby version, so it's got similar nostalgic value to Sceptile. My favorite water type is Dragovich. I can explain. First, I should mention that in my original video, my favorite water type was Blastoise, which was the first Kanto starter that I ever used back in League 3. However, I've barely touched the Pokemon since, so I don't know, I've kind of lost interest in it. But Dragovich is fresh on the mind, so while it may not be my favorite water type a year from now, it is right now, so I'm going to talk
Oh my god.
Leave a like on the video, and let's dive in to see if I can beat Pokemon Platinum without catching any Pokemon. The game starts out like any other Pokemon playthrough, and it's not long before I get to choose my starter, the first gift Pokemon in the game. When I originally thought up this playthrough, I at first thought that I would have to choose Piplup, because Empoleon can learn every HM in the game except Fly. Since Surf and Waterfall are necessary to beat the game, the O2 starters cannot learn those. I thought I had to pick Empoleon. However, during my research, I discovered that Eevee is a gift Pokemon in Platinum, which you can evolve into Vaporeon long before you need Surf to progress in the game. The only HMs you need prior to getting the Eevee are
Oh
Cut
my
and Rock Smash,
god.
and all three starters can learn both of those moves. Therefore, I can actually choose
Oh, good.
any starter that I want, with the only caveat being that if I choose Turtwig or Chimchar, I have to evolve my Eevee into Vaporeon, because no other obtainable Pokemon can learn Waterfall. I decided to go with Chimchar because it would be my only Pokemon for a good chunk of the early game, and it handles the first two gyms very well. Plus, it gets stacked from Rock Smash, a move that it'll be stuck with for a while. I defeat Fairy pretty easily before making my way to Sand Gym Town, where Professor Rowan lets me begrudgingly taught Monferno count. I bust into the Galactic Eterna building and fight my way to the top. Once there, I pick up the upgrade, then fight Jupiter. Zubat was a joke, but Skuntank was a bit tougher. Its bulk meant I had to hit it with multiple flame wheels, but I wore it down without too much issue. Resisting its night slashes definitely helped. After clearing out the building, I was careful to save the game a lot. The reason for this is that Cynthia is about to give me a Togepi egg, which will be my next member of the team. The scary thing, though, is that Togepi can either hatch with the ability Serene Grace, which is amazing, or Hustle, which is awful. Hustle boosts the Pokemon's physical attack while lowering its accuracy, but since Togekiss is a special attacker, all this ability would do to it is lower its accuracy. I was not about to deal with an inaccurate Togekiss the entire playthrough, so I saved before receiving the egg, because if you didn't know, the attributes of a Pokemon are determined when the egg is generated, not when it hatches. Thankfully, the first one hatched with Serene Grace, so all was well. I named it Gabriel after the angel from the Bible, since Togekiss is very angelic. I already had a Christ Pokemon, so I figured another biblical name would fit well. As soon as Gabriel hatched, I swung by the Cycle Shot to grab a bite, which would have helped with hatching. But I actually don't know why I didn't do this before. I biked down to Warbird, revived my Skull Fossil, and named my new Cranidos Solomon. I decided to stick with the biblical names theme, and Solomon fits Cranidos well. Solomon was wise, and Cranidos has a big head. So it's got a big brain, maybe. I taught Solomon Rock Tomb immediately, because very stupidly, this Rock-type Pokemon does not learn a Rock-type move until Head Smash at level 52. I was not about to deal with not having a stat move this entire playthrough, so burn the team. My next order of business was getting Togepi evolved as soon as possible because it is completely useless as a Togepi. Thankfully, I was given the Soothe Bell upon entering Eterna City, so after a little while of switch training, leveling up, and journeying all the way through Wayward Cave, Gabriel evolved into a Togetic. By the way, I had taught Flash to Togepi to get through Wayward Cave because it's the only one that can learn it. After Gabriel evolved, I taught it Grass Knot. I needed some way to counter water types in the meantime because my other two Pokemon are weak to water, and also, Togetic doesn't learn an actual attack until level 33. I was not about to only have Metronome that entire time. I found my way to Arkham City where I obtained the gift Eevee. I considered saving before receiving the Eevee so that I could reset for a female, so if I wanted to, I could breed Monferno and Eevee to get a lot more Eevees and all the other Eeveelutions, but I decided that having a team of just Eeveelutions would be kind of boring, so I just took the first one that I got. It ended up being a male Eevee, and I named it Levi. The Leviathan is a sea monster from the Bible, staying on theme, but I thought it would be funny if, like, the Leviathan is actually just a small sea cat, so I named my future Vaporeon just Levi. I decided to go ahead and challenge Fantina without grinding. After all, Solomon has sky-high attack and pursuit, so I figured I'd be fine. Learning Assurance during the course of battling the gym trainers was extra great, since Assurance doubles its power if Cranidos takes a hit first, which was likely since it's a bit slow. I took out her Duskull without much issue. I was hit with a Future Sight after it fainted, but that was fine. Then she sent out Miss Magius, and things got bad. Miss Magius immediately goes for a super effective Magical Leaf, a move that I did not remember that it had. I thought Solomon might survive it, but nope, it crit. My only Pokemon with super effective damage goes down. I bring in Ludicrous, who is 5 levels higher than Miss Magius. However, that wasn't enough. Miss Magius outsped us and confused Monferno, who then hurt itself immediately. Then Psybeam did most of my health, and while I hit the second Flame Wheel, it wasn't enough to KO. I was a bit salty, because if Monferno had not hurt itself in its confusion, I would have taken out Miss Magius right away. I switched in Togetic to take some hits while I healed up Monferno. However, since I only had Super Potions at this point, it took 2 turns to fully heal Monferno up. Miss Magius finished off Togetic, but I brought in Monferno back in to finish it off with a Flame Wheel. And it lives! The Miss Magius lives! It did this much the first time, then doesn't KO it from half health? What the heck? Dude? At this point, I was screwed. While I could have brought in Eevee to sack it off while I healed Monferno, thanks to her Super Potion, Miss Magius definitely needed 2 Flame Wheels now. I used 1 more Flame Wheel hoping for a crit, but didn't get it, so I gave up and let Miss Magius finish both Monferno and Eevee off. My first loss of the playthrough was done. Licking my wounds, I grinded Cranidos up to level 27 and got Monferno a level in the process. In the second attempt, I tried to OHKO Duskull with Assurance, but barely could not. Duskull used Future Sight, and this time I wanted Cranidos to stay totally healthy to make sure I could take a magical leaf. I brought in Togetic and messed around with Metronome and Yawn for a little bit before eventually getting impatient and bringing in Monferno to finish off Duskull. In came Haunter, which I was confident I could OHKO with Assurance. I could, but not before taking some damage from Sucker Punch. That was fine though, because Cranidos still has 62 HP, more than what it had in the last battle. Mismagius comes in, goes for Magical Leaf, and critical hits again, for the second time in a row. I hate this Pokemon now. Cranidos goes down, but I quickly formulate a plan. Since I don't have to use Togetic's turns to heal Monferno, I can put Mismagius to sleep to allow Monferno to KO it safely. I get off the Yawn, then randomly click Metronome on the turn I expected Togetic to go down. However, Togetic survives, then the Metronome happens, and it becomes transformed. What? I now have a powerful Mismagius with Shadow Ball up against a sleeping Mismagius. This is amazing. I go for Shadow Ball and it does more than half. The enemy Mismagius heals with its Citrus Berry, but it doesn't matter because I got the special defense drop. The second Shadow Ball finishes it off, and I beat Fantina using her own Mismagius against her. This was probably the wildest gym battle that I have ever had. It was awesome. I start making my way to Salacion Town, but not before my rival attacks. This battle was pretty uneventful though, and I beat him easily. My top priority is now getting to the Salacion Ruins, because that's where the Water Stone to evolve Eevee is. I skip as many trainers as possible on the way, enter the ruins, and find the Water Stone. I evolve Levi immediately, and now I have my Vaporeon. Unfortunately, what I didn't realize is that I already miss a Water-type move on Vaporeon. It learns Water Gun by level up at level 15, but I got the Eevee at level 20. Vaporeon doesn't move another level up, stab move, until I drop after wildly on 71. 71! Are you kidding? This means that unfortunately I can't teach Vaporeon a Water-type move until I get the Brine TM from Wake, so for the time being, Levi is still useless. I grab Defog from the ruins and teach it to Gabriel. After a quick, depressing detour to the Lost Tower, I begin my trek to Veilstone. This was arduous. It's a long trip with no healing, and the last battle is one of those cursed Ace Trainer double battles. I beat their last Pokemon with only a poisoned hurt Monferno left standing. I genuinely hate that battle. It gives me a hard time, no matter the place. But I still make it to Veilstone without losing, so I'm finally able to grab my 15-member Porygon. I named it Galaxian, like the book of the Bible Galatians, but more science-y sounding. If you recall, I already got the upgrade from the Galactic Eterna building, so I was able to evolve it into Porygon 2 immediately. My next step was to take on Maylene's fighting-type gym, but I didn't want to do that yet. My only attack that was super effective on fighting-type Pokemon was Galaxian's Psybeam, which isn't super...
At Bayer, we make aspirin to help save lives during a heart attack. So it never stops. The heart of the family. At Bayer, this is why we science.
effective on Meta-type or Lucario, and is also on